Several meetings.
You count that as a win.
Is this tape running?
We're on now.
Oh, okay, never
Oh,
mind.
I gotta be serious now.
Okay, National Pick on Run Day, work session of the Sunny County Commissioners to order. This isn't actually a meeting, is it?
Nope.
No,
We
okay.
really don't.
All right. I have the other thing, that's why. Today's May the 4th, right? Are we
Today's
gonna
May
do-
the 4th.
Let's,
They did do the
Nikki was
pledge
just
last time.
consistent. No.
well, let's do the pledge. I think that's always important.
Did they do that last time? Last work session?
We did.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, God. That's our prayer. Okay.
Rub-a-dub-dub, thank you God for the
Do
growth.
we need a roll call for this meeting necessarily? Are we all here?
I don't think so, because it's
Well,
board, I just didn't
Actually,
take
some
it
people
off.
question whether we are all here. Okay. We don't need to approve any previous minutes?
No.
So away we go into the old business. Let's talk about any adjustments first of all. Anything you want to add to these items? If not, annex plans, let's talk about that. I believe that is you, Miss Wilson.
Yes, Encompass has gotten us some drawings, and I each gave you a printed copy, and Nikki's got both of them that we can put up on the board. I guess it's easier to look at the afters, because he does show the dotted lines. If you look on the second and third floor, you can see some dotted lines where like the walls would be potentially coming out. Let me see, which one do I got here? That's the third floor. Yeah, third floor. I guess you need the pointer. And you can look at these. Currently, this wall, it's got 4 rows of benches, so it's out here. So that's one wall he's taken out. He's got benches we're gonna redo because currently Judge Schuff and Judge Kelbley do have issues with the witness stand, so Judge Meyer would like some adjustments to this witness stand. He's actually doing very little changes
Are we
on
gonna
the
do-
second and third floor.
We're gonna do a mock-up.
Yes, we are.
someplace?
We have, because once we, get all the common pleas out of there, the area will be empty, and we've suggested that they do that since the area will be empty.
I know we're gonna get free plywood.
Free plywood,
Yeah.
perfect. That works out for us. The things, judges talked about is, carpet and flooring, which buildings
Right.
over, 20 years old, just about. Our idea is to just use the same as the Justice Center. We're gonna follow the plans, the color scheme, everything that the Justice Center's using, because it's technically gonna be one building. So I just kinda wanted to give you an idea of what Judge is proposing. Like I said, there's not a lot of changes he's doing.
But, yeah, Judge Meyer has been very reasonable throughout this whole
Oh,
process.
absolutely. First
Yeah.
floor, he's not doing any adjustments down on the first floor. He's making that area work. And so we just wanted to give you some plans on what it looked like, where we were at, and we want to move forward with having the architect actually get us some costs.
Can you roll down to the first floor?
First floor, yep. That will show you the potential data center area and what will be left of the storage.
And this is the data center here, right?
Yes.
I mean, where the fence would be for the security part of that
Yep.
feature.
The wall will go.
Is this part of the data center, or is that just part of the telephone ops for the building and the building?
That's the back mechanical room, that
Okay.
will not be part of
You
the
just
data
said-
center.
Okay, I thought, because it says /.
Yeah, I think that's where it's currently at now.
Okay, gotcha. Just wanted to clarify.
So
that.
the line, if you see the dual doors that's going into the data center,
Mhm.
the solid line on the side of it, that's gonna be a solid secured wall. And then down further on the other side of the doors will be like a chain link secured locked fence, because our maintenance supervisor said we really need to leave those double doors there because any of the boiler equipment that's too big to get out of the single door. He said since they're in there, we might as well leave them in there. We may have to change them to have better secured doors.
That really
because
just becomes a hallway.
Yes, pretty much, yep.
Are there some evidence rooms there, but that's what's this, is it designed for that?
The storage area is whatever we
Yeah,
deem,
I've talked to the judges a little bit about this, and they do want storage area for past cases. They've got enough for active cases on their floor. So they're looking for stuff that they wouldn't necessarily be in all the time. You know, my suggestion is that we take that area there and use it for a meeting room, since it's on the first floor, and then take victims' assistance. You know, there's 3 offices in there, and create a storage vault in there. It's back in the bowels of CSV. And then, you know, I know they've got a couple mediations a week. You know, those could happen in there. You know, I think while we're programming this space, a meeting room there makes more sense than storage.
Well, I
and
thought
then
that- I thought-
that'll be up to you. We were debating whether to put carpet in there or not, because it was gonna be used for.
Yeah, this is the time to decide.
Yeah, and so, you know, first we've been talking about storage, then we were talking potentially law library, so that's the only room that, you know, necessarily we weren't sure if we wanted to do, you know, replace the carpet in there.
Well, I thought to the east part of the building, where the clerk's office is now, there was a big conference room that's not gonna get used a whole lot.
No, it's
They
file
actually
storage.
changed that, and they're gonna leave those rolling filing cabinets.
They are?
They're gonna leave those in there. Jean's gonna leave those, and juvenile probate's gonna use those. And Jean's gonna get new ones for her area. That, you see there, got a little pointer? Wait, that one.
Yeah.
In the works.
I know that room, but that's the room I thought we were
Goes on
going
the
to
ceiling.
kind of make a community meeting room, if you will, originally.
We talked about that briefly at one point, but thought it made sense.
Are we really gonna need all those rolling files?
Yes.
Yeah.
For like a long term, here we go back to the digitizing things, but
Well, as they're working through it, I thought is what she
Yeah.
indicated,
Yeah,
I think it was here. But-
probably Teresa.
Yeah.
Teresa Cop. Yeah.
that just seems like a lot of space for storage again.
Yep. But, you know, since the filing cabinets were already there, they were gonna turn it into a training room. We found out the second and third floor couldn't handle the load of the rolling filing cabinets. They can be stationary, and they've done the load tests, and they've got, if you look at second and third floor, they've even got how the filing cabinets are gonna be laid out.
So I assume that the judge will be on the third floor of this building, and that his magistrate will be on the second floor?
I have juvenile. Probation is, or no. Let's see which one this is. Yeah, magistrate's on the second floor, judge is on the third
Is
floor.
there a room either on the second or third floor that could be utilized as a community quote-unquote conference room area for depositions and those kinds of things that won't be used very often?
Yeah, he's got some, conference rooms.
Yeah, I mean, my point is, there's a lot of space up there,
Yeah, there is.
jury rooms and conference rooms, and those kind of things that I don't believe are gonna be utilized very
Right.
often.
And
There's
I
some
mean, even
judges-
there, even the courtrooms.
Yeah, I mean, there's an ante room when you go into the judge's offices, that's basically a boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
There's a jury room on the other side of the hall
Yep.
for deliberations. There's just a lot of conference area rooms
Yep.
that I would think we'd be able to schedule for those people that need it, rather than using that first floor and turn that into, utilizing that for something more specific than a conference.
Yeah, because on the third floor, they've got they've got a couple, 2 or 3 conference rooms up on the third floor.
Second floor is the same, I think.
Second floor, they're keeping, well, yeah,
Those rooms are pretty small.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been-
One of them are, maybe 3 people could get in.
Yeah.
You know,
Not from what I remember. There's rooms up there that,
There's, the jury deliberation room's decent size, but.
that ante room to the judge's office is 8 people easy. I don't know what other rooms are up there, but I've been up there quite often.
You're talking about this one over here, Mike?
Well, if
Like
you look
that's
where
in
the
that corner?
judges' chambers are.
Right here.
Are you, okay?
Yep.
Now, if you look in the room before that, as you walk in off the hallway,
So these over, these are off the whole main corridor by the elevator. There's those
Yeah.
two conference rooms. If you, in this, come back
they're-
behind
yeah,
this.
they're in there somewhere, I'm not sure, but as I walk through to get to the judge's office, I'm walking through what basically looks like a boardroom to me.
I think it's this one. I
One
think
that he
there's
has
a
for
door, I think there's a
genealogy?
door that's not showing there.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe I'm
The one
crazy.
that's
On
marked
this-
for genealogy?
It's actually, it's got, I think this is the room you're talking about. This is the before on the second floor.
But I mean, the point is, if there's one there, there's one on the third floor as
Right.
well.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah, there's just, the one has a hallway instead of a conference room on
Okay.
the second and third floor, so they're just a little bit.
My only point is, there must be conference rooms on those second two floors.
Yes,
That are going to be vacant 95% of the time. That could be utilized for whatever it is the attorneys need to utilize it for. Depositions or conferences or meetings or whatever the community in general needs it for.
yeah, and then they would just have to, I guess, schedule and verify that with Judge Meyer.
Yeah, I would think that would be a simple process. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of it. You just have a, you just
Yeah, I
have.
just can't see us taking prime first floor and turning it into a closet.
I
I
mean,
think, that, you know, it's our retail space, it's our first floor. We'd never build a bank branch and say, let's put a closet on the first floor and put the tellers on the third floor.
I don't know if the word closet ever came out of my mouth. I think that what I was saying was that could be utilized for something more than a conference room. I wouldn't put a conference room typically, you know, in the entrance of a prime space either. Typically, conference rooms are either in the basement or in the back of the building or whatever. So this is the.
If there's a third possibility, I'm open to that, but if it's storage or a public meeting room, I think a public meeting room is a better.
Well, we
use of
we
space.
had to compromise with the judges a long time ago regarding the storage because we took away that mezzanine, if you recall. And the only place that we had for them for evidence rooms was this space that we, again, a long time ago, had to negotiate with Jay to take over. Originally, juvenile probate wanted the entire building, including the area that now includes the Tower Department. That was, you know, through some long talks on a number of days to get that to happen. So, you know, we're talking about a space that we haven't committed to, except to the judges, for evidence rooms. And I know that there's some additional space there. To me, that space, you know, can be utilized for something better than a conference room, I believe.
I'm looking at the plans, not the existing. It looks like that space is very comparable to the size of, my rough calculations of this room to this room here. Yeah, I mean,
think
even
that's
with
probably true,
with
yeah.
the wall in and the data center part already
Yeah.
removed from it. So again, I don't, you're right on the mezzanine, Mike, and the storage needed and so forth. I don't know, what I don't remember from this conversation is if they gave us square footage of what they needed, so forth. I mean, I have to agree,
They
it's
talked about, you know, they talked
prime
about stuff that they
space,
had
but-
to keep for a long time. You know, if there's an alternative for the storage, I'm sure the judges would be open to it, because as we said, that is pretty good space there, but that's what we negotiated basically because of the lack of the mezzanine space.
I wonder if we can calculate out now, I mean, if it's worth a revisit to, I mean, I don't know when you said you talked to him, Shane, but now that, you know, with all the talk about 81 Jefferson and looking at what they have over there, because some of that stuff is what I believe that's in the old commissioner's offices over there that they've got locked,
Yeah, I don't think
is
so.
the
I don't
stuff
think
that
so.
they're talking about, as well as whatever new stuff that gets acquired.
I'm not sure of that. I know that there's some, like murder case evidence, et cetera, that they've got to keep forever. And I think that's what they were talking about mostly, but it
But I'm
could be.
thinking it's over there
Could be.
now.
It could be.
Stacy, would you be willing to talk to them and say if we gave them vaults and CSB and offered them a meeting room that they could use for mediations on the first floor, what their preference would be?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's reasonable. I think the storage they're looking for is long-term storage that they don't need to have access to, so.
Well, I think it's even a bigger picture than that, because we haven't decided what yet to do with the stuff that is in 81. You know, if we decide to utilize Carnegie, maybe that's the place that we could ask them if they would accept separate vaults in that building. And if we don't use that, you know, maybe CSB. But I don't know that we've made any of those decisions
Yeah.
regarding what we're gonna do with the Carnegie Library and regarding how much space indeed there is at CSB.
We just got so many projects going on at one moment
Yeah,
that
yeah.
until we get some of these done to see what we have left, what our spaces are. Yes, we know victims assistance is gonna be out, we know public guardian's gonna be out, I don't know the square footages of those two areas, but, you know, prosecutor has moved down, so there's gonna be, you know, some offices there. And, you know, he is working with the city to, potentially bringing some of their prosecutors over. So there's some things going on, so.
Okay.
But yeah, we haven't decided on any of them. There's a lot of options for a lot of different spaces, but
Yeah, I think we do need to provide some secure long-term storage for them, for evidence
Sure.
lockers. And so
in the middle of CSB is
Yeah.
the
I would-
Austin and building. But
So you just want some guidance as to see whether or not you can draw some architectural plans for the
yeah,
space and,
can I have them start working on the prices, to get the prices around and start on the bid specs for this, and that way we can see where we're at on price.
I would say yes. How much do we have set aside?
Right now, we put 500,000 in the capital improvements for this process, including, you know, the data center's part of that too.
Yeah. Okay. Any other additional conversation about the annex? 81 Jefferson Street, this is one topic.
I know we put it on to bring up
Board's,
next week. I touched base with the departments and they're gonna get me their plans by the end of this week, so we will bring it up again next week. The only other thing, I guess, would be 81 Jefferson Street is Shane came up with an idea. I think he was looking at, we have 277 boxes over in that area, the area that Julia's relinquished, that are the commissioner's responsibility now.
yeah.
We have an opinion that that stuff can be gotten rid of. You know, it is documents that have social security's numbers on it, so it does need to be shredded. So what we had originally planned on doing is the School of Op, their kids do shredding for us for free throughout the school year. They usually can handle, you know, 20 boxes at a time. And currently, since school year is ending, their treasurer took a bunch out there to get rid of. So they're full for the rest of the remaining of their school year to do it for us for free. They do have the adult side. They charge 18 cents a pound to do shredding, and you know, they will continue to do shredding throughout the summer. Wasn't sure if we knew, if we wanted, if it was a hurry to get those out of there, and we wanted to spend the extra money to get them shredded, or.
Yeah, I read that memo. I mean, tell me the harm that there would be in waiting until September until they're back to school to shred the stuff.
Well, theoretically, we'd have more stuff that we'd be shooting at them. You know, at some point, we're gonna have to face the bottleneck.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, hopefully we'll have stuff heading their way in the fall,
Yeah.
new stuff.
The, I mean, if we were to hold versus paying for it, we could, I mean, until we get the drop dead date, that's an easy move, assuming that the adult side, if we're paying for it, we'll take the volume, whatever it is, I mean, within reason, that we wanna move out, and if we get to that point, but maybe we would get some of it done. I mean, school, the summer break is less than 3 months, right?
Yeah, they'd go back
You know, I mean,
end of
if
August.
they're done here in the middle of May, I don't know.
Well, let's try to quantify this. What are we talking about here?
About
18 cents a pound?
$5,000. Not to exceed
$5,000.
$5,000. That's a favorite pockets, weighs 100 pounds.
The big ones,
The big banker boxes. And,
I'm sure it's the last.
yeah.
but,
I don't know. I mean, convince me why we should do it before September and save $5,000.
If you were getting, if we were selling the building in September, then I guess, yeah, but, you know, I don't know necessarily. That's up to you guys. If you, because we don't have a date, we have a plan. We haven't got plans from the other departments yet. You know, we knew their plans and we had everything ready to go.
Yeah, you gotta remember too, the school doesn't have an industrial shredder. That's not what they have. They have a shredder like ours, so it's make work for them in between class. So that could literally take,
It's a shredder like ours?
yeah, it's not an
They have
industrial
multiple
shredder.
shredders like that, and they give them a
They-
box at a time.
They give a
and
little
do, like,
box and they
one
do it
piece of
as
paper.
craft activity kind of. It's not a commercial operation that you would think for the students. It's make work.
What do the adult people do?
Yeah, what's,
What kind of a shredder do they have?
I have no idea.
That's more of an industrial setting
Okay.
for the Riads.
I know Damon took out, we took out about probably 100 boxes for Damon for the kids. That's what's gonna keep the kids busy the rest of this month, to my understanding.
well, then wherever Damon kept his, let's move ours there.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, Well, I mean, as I say, I think that it's pie in the sky to think that we're going to be able to sell that building by September, especially since we know that the courthouse is not gonna be completed until late November. And then what do we need, 60 days or so to move into it, I assume?
And then we have
I
to
mean,
do
that's within
renovation.
reason, so now we're talking about January, late January. And I assume by the time Jay gets out of Carnegie, it's gonna be at least then and maybe later. So before we can expect people to have stuff out of 81 Jefferson Street, it's gonna be at least February.
Is there any advantage to, this stuff is in 2 rooms?
Yes.
And there's, I mean, we're not encouraging anybody to add any more stuff over there, but there's not, it doesn't help anybody by us getting at least a room emptied so that,
No, because we'll lock
In
them
the
up so they
transition.
can't put anything in
okay,
there.
okay, so I mean, there's nothing.
We're not gonna allow anybody to put anything
Yeah.
in those areas. We'll lock those up, and our idea is to get stuff out, not put any more stuff in.
Add more stuff.
So, I mean, if there was a reason to get the stuff out of there
200
by
boxes, you
September,
said?
then I agree that we pay for it, but
277 boxes.
if there was no real reason, I don't know why we spent $5,000. I mean, somebody tell me
Is-
that I'm wrong.
As long as the school knows they're gonna be willing to start accepting boxes again.
Yeah, because I know Nikki had talked to Betsy, which I think Betsy's now retired, but she knew we had a lot coming, but I don't think she knew Damon's were coming before ours.
Well, I mean, just as long as you get it scheduled with them and knowing that, you know, not for them not to accept anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, and also assuming that we don't have to give them a lot of lead if we decided to pay the per pound fee on the adult side and, you know, come fall, we started, if their rate of going through boxes is excessively slow and we're starting to have a target of,
Yeah.
we need to be out of it, then we can just say, okay, we're bringing you.
Well,
you
what's
know, we're
history,
bringing you half
what's
of this.
history showing us? I mean, when we take them stuff, do they get rid of it in reasonable length of time?
I don't actually call to check up to see if
I don't
they've gotten,
either,
I
but
just assume.
The procedure would be we just move all those boxes there.
Well, they usually
they
only
do it
like
one
to
at a
take 20 at a time.
How many boxes again are we talking about?
277.
277.
It's a bunch.
All right.
It's a bunch. And if we get the plans from the other 2 departments, you know, I don't know if they've got, they may add to ours, and we can do it in one, but until we get those plans, I don't know.
Okay, well, continuing on with 81 Jefferson Street, I think, have we as a commission decided to sell that building? Is that our plan?
Yeah, I think that's what you guys.
I mean, I don't know if we've ever really voted on it or what we need to do legally on the,
Yeah, that's what I want, that's my next question, was if we talked to
Decide to
Derek
do it,
about it,
right?
what
Oh, yeah,
exactly is the procedure?
Yeah, we know when we need to advertise, how long we have to advertise.
Get all
and
that down, so, and an online auction is okay,
We can do, yeah, we can do an online auction.
all right? And now the question is the time frame. When do we think we want to try to do that?
when we advertise it, we could indicate availability, that it's not available until, you know, the earliest availability would be whatever arbitrary date we want to put on that based on getting moved into the Justice Center and those kinds of things, or
Yeah, I would say, the end of February is probably the most reasonable date at this point.
unless it's bid over at so much dollars, then we'll get it empty tomorrow.
Yeah, money has a way of changing their attitude, you know? Okay.
Well, like I said, if we're allowed to indicate availability or availability negotiable, I don't know, but something to indicate that,
Yeah, because I think John was looking at it, John was gonna check in a few others in the area that do shredding, more of a, that's what they do, is shredding, but I think some of the advertised price were like 25 cents.
I would assume that's probably, yeah, very competitive and/or less expensive route from, it's been a long time since I priced it, but I did a while back.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is this, if we commit to the pricing, then we've committed and we spent the money. If we get to September and we see there's a reason that they can't get it done, or there's a problem, we can still pay somebody to do it.
Right.
Yeah, we can look at them.
So, I just hate to, give that option up. Hopefully we can get it done for the best price I know of, and that's nothing.
Right. Well, then if we do, I mean, I have no idea what we're gonna get for the building, but.
I'll take a buck right now.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say is, I
How
guess
much
it's not gonna pay for the shredding.
How much is it gonna cost to raise the building is the question.
Yeah, I guess that's the, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, how's that for showing your hand before the bids go out? Okay, well, then I think that we ought to talk about Tuesday, the possibility of a motion to sell that building and to talk about advertising it for sale as soon as possible with possession or ownership not to occur until, pick a date, February 28th, 2018. I mean, at least we've got a time frame, and at least the people then will know when they have to, for sure when they have to have stuff out, without question.
Yeah, it's just the unknowns of when's the Justice Center gonna be done, how long is it gonna take the common police to, and
Yeah, that's
clerk
what
to
I'm-
move
yeah,
over,
right.
and then we gotta get the remodel done on the annex.
Okay, so what do you suggest?
I was just kinda hoping you'd wait until we were,
Well, once you talk to Encompass on this,
Further
and they
along.
start moving, they should be able to give you a target of
Timeframe,
when they're
yeah.
gonna get you the
Alright.
engineer's estimates.
I mean, but you guys can decide to sell, I just don't know the date, I'd hate to have to change the date, but,
For possession or for?
yeah. I
Okay,
just-
that's fair, because we
Derek
don't
would
know.
know, tell us how to,
We really don't,
how to
we
do that.
don't know where we're at, so. All right, well, I think that maybe we ought to formally move that we sell the property, a date uncertain at this point, but that's been the decision. So if there's anybody in the public that has an interest, at least they know what's coming up and can make their decision based on that.
We'll bring that up Tuesday, since it's a work session.
Yeah. And if we have additional questions for Derek, I guess we can either try to ask him before Tuesday, and or if he would, I don't know if he has availability to be here, or if sale of property is executive session stuff, I don't know. Purchases, I don't know about, so.
I can ask.
Okay. What's next? $5 vehicle permissive use fee?
Yeah, I wanted to.
hold on a second, I gotta.
You gotta give me power.
Yep. There you go.
Okay, so this doesn't require any action on our part, but I wanted to bring it up because I want to talk about it at the Transportation Committee. So I wanted to kind of flesh it out here. I don't remember that we've actually talked about it formally in a work session here.
Not this new one, no.
Yeah. So there's new authority that was granted in the transportation budget, and it gives the county an additional $5 per motor vehicle license fee. And it's different from before. This is new authority, and so it permits the commissioners by resolution, if we choose to levy and retain an additional $5 annual license fee. This is information that's comes straight from CCAO, County Commissioners Association. What the procedure is that it would require us to adopt a resolution, to have 2 public hearings, and then continues until repealed. So that's kind of the process. The purposes it can be used for is planning, constructing, improving, maintaining, repairing public roads, maintaining, repairing bridges and viaducts, purchasing, erecting, maintaining streets, signs, markers, cost share on, ODOT projects, paying the county portion, improving roads, reconstructing, repairing, of course, administering the tax, railroad crossings. You can actually use it to pay debt if you wanted to bond some money, or paying all the part expenses for planning, reconstructing, repairing highways, design, traffic flow. So a pretty broad brush on what it can be used for. So, in Seneca County, I don't know if I can read this, it's about 60,000 motor vehicles. I don't know where motor vehicles start and stop. It's beyond cars, it's trucks, it's motorcycles, whatnot. But I don't think it applies to trailers and campers and those kinds of things. But, so, round number 60,000, it generate $300,000 a year to be used for whatever the county would deem appropriate.
Within those parameters,
Within those-
roads, county road stuff. the
Yeah,
parcels,
sorry,
right.
yeah. So, number one question I always get from folks is things like, turn lanes on Route 4 or the intersection at Route 12 and 580, those, fix the road kind of things. So this is a tool that the state has put in place for us to consider, and, in my conversations with CCAO, they said the best way to do is just sit down with your engineer and figure out a format that would be appropriate, and then bring it forward. So I think that the Transportation Committee is a good place to do that. We have Fostori's engineer, Tiffin's engineer, Seneca County engineer, and have a conversation in that committee, and then decide this body if we want to take it up. I don't necessarily have an opinion on it at this point, but I think having some kind of
Yeah, well,
discussion.
I do have, my opinion is that it would need to be extreme circumstances that I would consider increasing taxes in the county, for any reason. We have a good fiscal situation at this point. We have an excess amount of money in our account. We have an excess amount of money in the engineer's account. And to take $300,000 out of the pockets of citizens makes no sense to me at this point. So I would adamantly vote against any increase in any fees that we have control of.
And prior to your term, Shane, actually prior to Mike's term, so now I'll date myself. Back 4 years ago, when we discussed, it was this is a new $5 tax.
Yeah, it's a new authority.
Avenue authority that's available. But the other ones that are out there available that this county does not have in place come with lots of different ramifications pending on what a township or municipality may have in place. And so therefore, if they already have some, it can't be over
Right.
5, and so you're collecting different amounts from different places, so it's not equal across the board to all citizens. And for the same tone of I didn't want to see any more taxes on any of the citizens for anything, but that
Yeah.
really clouded what was the anticipation of what that was going to do at that time.
Right.
Which is, this is a closer match to what was assumed back then. But, yeah.
Yeah, that was fully vetted, and, like I said, I'm not proposing that at this point, but I think it's a new authority, and it merits discussion with the Transportation Committee, because it's well within their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that if you want to have the conversation, that's okay, but I could tell you, I for one, would absolutely oppose it. You know, my statement there is just, you know, just because we can doesn't mean we should. So I don't know what Commissioner Stacy thinks about that, but if, you know, if that would never be approved, if there's the opinion that it wouldn't be approved, then there's no sense having the conversation.
I wouldn't want them to get fired up. I guess I think the engineers, I'm not gonna want to put Mark on the spot to say do or don't. I'm sure if money's there, Mark would find ways to use it, but I'm sure Mark has got his program worked out and without asking, he's never come for us to ask for us for any money. And the other aspect, when I asked CCO a little bit about it because of those previous two that are out that exist before this one came into play, and the impact this one can be put into play even without the other two, from what they're telling me. And as he indicated, if you've got townships indicating, you know, constantly worried about, you know, having money, that kind of thing, and saying things to you, one of the others would be a way you'd help them more because it's a split, a 70-30 split, and I don't remember which way that goes. But I said, we don't have that. I'm sure that townships would take money, but they're also not in here asking for it. I've never had a township trustee say, you guys need to figure out a way to give us road money. They've not done that. And so I guess I am, yes, definitely not in for any new taxes to citizens either, as I wasn't 4 years ago. This avenue for all of those reasons.
Okay, well, I feel it needs, it's reasonable and it's justified to discuss it. So if the Transportation Committee thinks that there's action, I'll bring it back for, further discussion with full information.
Yeah, I just think it's a moot point from my standpoint, because I know I, for one, will not support any increase, and it sounds to me like Commissioner Stacy wouldn't. And if those are the cases, then I don't know why you need to discuss them any further. Okay, what's under new business? Community Development Implementation Strategy.
Okay, so per the CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant Guidelines, we have to hold the Community Development Implementation Strategy meetings. We've held the 2 meetings to help determine our priorities for the county. These are public meetings and the community gets to decide what are the priorities, and we bring them to the commissioners. Because we haven't received our allocation amount yet, we can't say these are the projects we want to do. What we are doing today is giving you the information of what was discussed so that you have some knowledge of what took place for your decision-making factors and about the projects that are being proposed to us. And we vetted out quite a bit of this information with our representative from the ODSA as well to make sure that we are on target for the CDBG grant when the application is ready to go in. So today I just want to give you some information so you have it to review. Commissioner Stacy was at the first and second meeting. Commissioner Thomas was at the second meeting, so they both were able to attend and take part in this. We had good turnout and good input from representatives from multiple agencies. So the way our group, or the group that was there, chose to tackle everything was activities that we can do, which is the types of things we can do, and then who has a project that kind of falls under those activities. So what I'm going to give you today are the list of guaranteed approved activities that came out of that meeting that the commissioners will need to decide if they're happy with those activities, if they feel they're okay. So I have those for you. Got one for you too, Stacy. There's quite a bit on this list because there was a lot of voting and concern and thoughts of what we could do. So just to give a highlight of what's on the list, I'm not going to cover the outcome measurements because we'll cover those at a later date and it's for you to read through. But we are going to cover what those activities are. Highest rated was the fire protection facilities and equipment. So public safety was the highest rated activity from the CDIS meeting, which shows that our community believes that safety first. So that's great. Street improvements was another one. Water and sewer facilities, neighborhood facilities and community centers, parks and recreation facilities, sidewalk improvements, public utilities, public rehabilitation, planning, parking facilities, fair housing programs, general administration, homeless prevention, water facility improvements, code enforcement, interim emergency rental assistance, homelessness prevention implementation, and utility payments. So these are all activities that are eligible under the CDBG grant, and these are all the activities that the CDIS meetings flushed out of quite a few that said these are our top activities. Estimated under what our potential allocation is going to be, and we don't have a solid number on that yet, it's just potential looking at history. Looks like we'll be able to do 5 activities and up to 3 set-aside activities. And set-asides, again, are competitive application processes outside of our allocation. So with that being said, we had some really great response this year on projects. I think it's probably the most response you've had in a long time on projects. Stacy's communicated to me that it's been really hard to get projects, and I think it warrants the fact that we started talking to these communities when I first started, saying, tell us what you need, tell us what you're going to need to have done. We can't put together work plans, we can't look for funding for you unless we know your needs. And they really came to the table with needs this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out the Community Development Needs Worksheet. This is part of the CDIS process. I have one for each of you as well, Stace. So I wanted to give these to you so you guys have those to know, hey, these are the projects that could potentially be coming to you for approval and for you to review when I come to you for approval for the CDIS. The way this works, and it reads kind of funky, it really doesn't tell you much. This is just the state's form, and we're going to go off of that form. So what we've received is, and what conversations have happened, and that the Village of Attica, there is the old Eagles building, and that is slum and blight, and that would fall under downtown revitalization per the state. That could be a potential option. The Hopewell Township, they have more than just upgrading the electrical at Meadowbrook Park, which falls under neighborhood revitalization. They're actually looking at putting together a full project plan. We've had some extensive conversations with them as well, and we're not sure if they're going to hold off till 2019 or if they want to continue with this year. They're going to continue talking with their trustees and look at some dollar amounts. The Village of Bloomville would like to repair the liner in the water tower, clean the interior of the water tower, and paint the water tower, amongst some other items that have to be done to that. And those are all under critical infrastructure due to the Ohio EPA saying that they have to maintain that water tower and do quite a bit of work on it. So that would be a set-aside program as well. The Village of Republic needs to replace their water meters and software and handhelds. They're outdated and they're starting to fail, and those are critical infrastructure set aside as well. The next one, we have 2 for Seneca County, both for the CSB building. One is to upgrade the first floor restroom in the county services building with handicap modifications. The other one is to replace the parking lot in the county services building due to ADA compliance, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Both of those fall under CD, the allocation portion, and both of those fall under limited clientele, so we don't have to do income surveys on those buildings, so that's a nice avenue. But again, we've gotten so many responses that we're probably not going to be able to do one of those 2. And Stacy and I are going to have to meet and work with you guys on what the priority is on that, and let you know which one the state says is the best project for you. Next, this is a first, I think, for your CDBG program, is that we had a lot of response for homelessness prevention for Seneca County and the city of Fostoria to combine together. The city of Fostoria is under our allocation. The city of Tiffin is not under our allocation. So the funds would not be able to be expended inside the city limits of Tiffin, but would be Seneca County and city of Fostoria. Both United Ways and First Call for Helps would partner on this project, and it is to provide direct assistance and implementation for those who are facing homelessness. So they maybe are receiving an eviction notice, they're a few months behind on their rent or mortgage payment, and it's able to help them stay in their home, or maybe it is someone who's homeless and they're able to pay rent and deposit for them for a couple months, and then do educational services as well to the community and to those tenants. This flushed out very high as well during the second CDIS meeting. The New Regal Sewer District has some pumps that need to be replaced as well, and we are working on that project. That is a CD allocation. Clinton Township Fire Department was gracious enough to come back to us after we talked about the fire protection facilities, and they have a wonderful list of equipment that they need now, and some services that they need. So they have provided us their pre-app. They were the first one to turn in their pre-app to us, and they have all the documentation in. And then we have the Village of New Riggle, who has sidewalk replacements on its public infrastructure and does fall under the program. So these are the proposed activities that are coming in. We are working on discussions. We're not asking you for approval on this. We all know that I try to make sure that you have all the information ahead of time, and that's what I'm doing today, is make sure you have that information so you can start looking at it, asking me as many questions as you want, and starting to flush this process out.
Now, in order to qualify, do all these people have to be prove that their population is low to moderate income?
The only ones that have to prove that are going to be Clinton Township, Hopewell Bascom area, the Village of New Riggle, and the New Riggle Sewer District, and Republic.
Do we have any demographic information that would indicate?
We have started on this process. At this time, Clinton Township just sent out their income surveys last week, so we are waiting on those to come back. The Hopewell Bascom area, this is the second, they've been out for 2 weeks. We need 100 surveys back. We've received 71, and we're just under the 51% on their indication of what we have received. The Village of New Riggle, we need a total of 89. We have received 43 back, so we need 46 back, and they are just over the 51% on what we have received.
My question really was this, Shirley.
Yes.
Do we know in advance, for example, if Clinton Township probably will qualify for LMI or not? Or do we know in advance if the Village of New Riggle? We don't have any stored information that indicates that?
We do not.
Okay.
The only one we know for sure is Bloomville, because Bloomville is on the ACS, the American Census Survey, and they are already surveyed as low income.
Okay. There are some census tract information out there that the banks have to use, I know, that indicate areas that are LMI or not LMI. Now, whether or not that's a federal regulation, whether or not that is acceptable for these kinds of things or not. My gut is that, for example, Clinton wouldn't be. I really don't know how they would qualify for 51%.
It's
But
going to determine on what the sampling comes back
yeah,
at.
I get that, but I would find that difficult to perceive.
Can you update me on what the Republic fulfillment rate is?
Republic is on their second round right now of sending them out. We need 153 total, and we have received 67, so we need 86 more. They're at
How many go out?
153 went out.
153?
Went out, and that's how many we need back. Because when you're sampling, you're going by the
Oh,
sampling.
153 is the sample.
Yes, that's the sample that we need.
What
there-
percentage is the sample?
It's not a percentage, it's a set sampling rate by the state that we have the grid on. It's up in my office.
Oh, okay.
So
So if the population's 700.
so much, this is
okay.
so much.
Okay.
So are you able to either, say you get half of it back and you need more, are you able to send out another sampling?
We are.
Or- oh, okay.
We are able to go down further on that list. And we are doing that. The New Riggle Sewer District, because we are the Regional Planning Administrator of the Sewer District, of course, we're more on top of what goes out. We're on the second round of what's went out, and we only need 20 more back on those applications, on those surveys. And at this point, we're at 56% LMI on what we've received back. So that tells you that we are,
This doesn't really, it doesn't seem very accurate to me. I mean, if you need 200 and you happen to get 200 people who are better than average, send it back, but 200 people that aren't, don't. No, it just doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
yeah, this is their sampling
Okay,
requirements.
all right, well, yeah, I guess.
And I can, just for an instance, if you look at the New Riggle Sewer District, what the population of that is, it's 108. And we need 89 surveys back for our sampling. So it's a little over, it's over half, but it's not great. The census blocks, we can use those, but we can't use those to prove the LMI. We can only use ACS. So I just wanted to kind of update you on that at this time and make sure that you guys are aware of where we're at, what we've been doing, and what processes are flowing through. And we will not hold a second public hearing until allocations are released. And once those allocations are released, we will come back to you for the second public hearing to go over the allocation as well as choosing the projects.
For like homelessness, who do you use, how do you sample the population?
We
for
do
that?
not have to
Is it just-
sample for homelessness because it's limited clientele.
So it's targeted clientele. If you use it for targeted clientele, then that requirement is waived.
That is waived, that is
Okay.
correct. So when you're looking at doing a senior center, something that's a senior services, a limited clientele as in homelessness, or doing ADA compliant handicap accessibility, those three services are limited clientele.
Gotcha.
And since those three population sectors are limited clientele, we do not have to do income surveys on those. Any other questions? Anything else I could update you on with this?
Does anything change the, those set-aside programs and the eligibility for those because they fall under other areas? You don't have that indicated that they're LMI.
They are not indicated yet for LMI because we haven't gone that far on the spreadsheet for the state yet. We're only up to the permits and approvals column for the state, where we haven't submitted this yet. For the three potential set-aside activity, or four potential set-aside activities at this time, the four would be the Village of Republic for critical infrastructure, the Village of Bloomville for critical infrastructure, Hopewell Township, Bascom area for neighborhood revitalization, and Village of Attica for downtown revitalization. They have quite a bit of work to do to get information to us because there's multiple activities they have to do, quite a bit of information they have to gather for us to even submit a letter of interest. Our letter of interest is required forms that goes with it, and then the state will unlock a separate application for us. We're vetting out these activities. Elizabeth Baxter from the ODSA was very gracious when she came down for our audit and actually went through all the activities with us and told us what we need, what looks good, what will probably score high, what won't, and that's why we are kind of working through all those before we come to you guys with a list.
So that will follow right after the rest of this, or it's not
With it.
with it. Okay.
It's all gonna come as a big bundle when we
Okay.
talk for approval. But again, today is just to make sure you guys have this information to study and ask me questions before we ask for formal approval.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Charlene. On the Foster Homeless Project, you're partnering with First Call for Help and who else?
It would be Seneca County United Way and First Call for Help, and Foster United Way and First Call for Help.
Okay, just need a signature from. Thank you. Do you have extra copies of the list?
Thank you.
I can get you some.
Thank you.
Cleveland fans.
Well, pretty much. Maybe Cleveland fans to get
Let's go, let's move forward.
I would've been happy to sign it.
Wasn't me.
No, it's like, nice.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how active it was.
That's the
You got it.
Yep.
It's always interesting to see what county government.
Thanks, Dan.
And you've seen enough.
Interesting.
And it's Phil.
He's done. Well, I thought I'd ask, because
Says
I
no.
want to have him on here. I was like, I need a signature.
Okay, I wasn't sure what you said to him, or whatever you said to him made him leave.
Yeah.
He went back to get his high water pants on.
Historic Preservation Advisory Council.
Me again. I want to get the guidance from the commissioners because you are going to be in charge of that fund if it is awarded to us. We did set up 5 different entities that will take part in the advisory council. I would like your guidance on how you would like me to proceed with the ask of who is on that from those committees, as well as if you want to appoint a person from each of those offices or you want them to appoint it. And then if you want the advisory committee to determine the application process, or if you would like to determine it, or if you want regional planning to put it together and say, here you go, advisory council, roll with it.
Well, the only request that I have, I did talk to Mark Steinmetz about it, and I would ask that he be asked to be a representative from the museum,
Okay.
but
From Historical Society.
from the Historical Society, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Historical Society. But, I mean, that isn't an absolute requirement, I just kind of feel some obligation, because I did have a discussion with them.
Yeah.
My only other comment would be I'd want it to be more inclusive than less inclusive, so, you know, if there is an Attica Historical Society or a Bloomville Historical Society, that those people ought to be at least considered, at least representatives from the villages, not necessarily all of them, but villages and townships be included.
We had 5 slots that we looked at, being an odd number, is what you proposed.
Correct.
And then
Didn't the resolution specify who,
the
what
the
organizations?
I think the resolution just specified the fund. Our
No,
application,
It did talk about it, but I don't know that it was all inclusive.
It listed
But
5
it
just
it did
to,
list.
It was specific.
and we are able to adjust that after they come back from the
I
Ohio
think if we
Historical
ask this,
Connection.
we'll certainly be receptive to it.
I guess, yeah, maybe present some names to us. I mean, you could, and like Mary Lewis was one of the people who were here, who was in the room.
Right.
And brought things, and I think she would be of that, not the Glass Museum, but the Alliance group.
Yeah.
If that was one of them we listed. So I guess if that's all right, we can informally kind of get you names and see if, you know, maybe you get back with them and they're gonna say yes or no, I'm not interested for whatever reason, I don't know, but it's pretty low commitment, really, and when the ideas come in and.
Yep.
And I guess I would like to see what their thoughts are on, I mean, they're gonna have the list from, that's pretty set in stone, and this is what qualifies, what projects qualify, that they look at. We established in the resolution the one-to-one match, because that was the whole purpose of it, was to leverage, that would leverage some monies, for these groups. So that's pretty much set in stone. I'm thinking they meet, and as they have one come forward, if they're ready, they bring it to us and we look at it.
Okay.
But we wanted them to be the ones, because they're better at this historic preservation than we are.
I just wanted your guidance. It's your money. I want to make sure
It's
we're.
not our money.
Well,
It's your money.
it's in your pot of money, so we want to make sure we're responsible to you as we're supposed to be. So I will make a few more connections as we get ready for them to respond with our requests. And I'll also reach out to a few other entities to see if they'd like to participate or if they'd just like to be kind of maybe a sub-recipient if something comes in. Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Thomas, I assume active transportation plan is yours?
Yes. We've had some conversations, Charlene and I have, with the city and the sisters. You know, they're interested in having a conversation of allowing, you know, trail to go through their property. And so it joins to our farm. So I wanted to just, you know, bring it up here because for us to be a participant in the planning process, I wanted to get a sense that we're open to the idea that some kind of active transportation trail would go across the farm. So there's no set plan as far as how we might go across the farm. Dave, Zach, and I were out there last night, looked at a couple scenarios and what's there from an existing infrastructure. And so, you know, I just put some high-level kind of concepts together. We are hoping, Charlene and I, that we have a grant application pending with ODOT for planning purposes. But, you know, I want to make sure that we're all okay with including, you know, some kind of, you know, plan that includes the county farm. So in this particular scenario, it starts down here on Infirmary, cuts around Opportunity Park, which is a partnership between the Opportunity Center and Seneca County Park District, around our existing ag building, or our Opportunity Center, and then behind the engineer, and then through our ag buildings and out past the cemetery, and then it's just a short jump across to what's right here is the sister's property, with the ultimate goal of hitting this road that goes under 224, which would give a positive ingress egress underneath 224 for pedestrian or bike traffic. So that happens to be my favorite plan. Not saying that that's going to be adopted. It allows a couple things. One, it starts on 151 in Eaton Township, which keeps people off of Route 100. And Dave and Zach and I found last night, it's a busy place, 100, so you want to keep people off of state routes when possible. It also utilizes a lot of existing road and infrastructure in that this lane back to the Indigent Cemetery has a good base. It's in good shape, and that's you know, one less thing we would have to do. And it's an interesting ride as well, because it picks up the park. You know, another possible alternative is to use this existing road that leads into the Opportunity Center. You know, my concern with that is there's a lot of buses that go in and out and use that road. John Logston and I talked about this. This is kind of an interesting piece here that goes along the pond. This is actually really pretty along here. And then hopping along 224 and meeting up over there. That's all new construction. So, you know, as we go out and seek grant funding or whatnot, that would be, you know, more money we'd have to find. And just to point out, I put up here as far as what it might be. That alternative is 1.16 miles. This alternative is 0.95. And then just another one. I call this the Charlene plan. She likes the woods. So I would go along the property line and come through the woods. The woods is actually very nice, and then up the property line this way. You know, if we were able to get some big grant funding, that would be a very interesting ride and a pretty ride through the woods. You know, more than likely, we're going to want to try and use existing infrastructure where possible. So, you know, I just wanted to bring it up so that if you had any resistance to being a part of the planning process.
The potential of the money, the application that is in or will go in,
It's already in,
Yeah.
we're just waiting on decision.
what does that do? What happens, the maintenance factor after, you know, if that gets it put in and so forth, then does the park district take care of it? Who maintains?
I think those are things that we have to flesh out. The grant that we have pending right now is just for planning. So, you know, identifying corridors like this, you know, in the county, around the parks, in the city, and have a comprehensive active transportation plan. So that's just identifying and doing the studies to indicate where it might best go. As far as funding for the actual construction, you know, we can start looking for that once we have a plan. And then maintenance, you know, that would come back to, you know, if it's in the city, if it's in the county, if it's in the park district, you know, those are all conversations that we would have down the road. You know, for instance, if it's on our property, we would have to come back here and we'd say, is this a park district trail? Is it a county trail? I mean, those would be decisions that we would have the opportunity to make. But before we get to any of that, we have to do our due diligence and develop a plan. And in order to develop the plan, this is, I think, one of the linchpins in getting access from the city of Tiffin out into the county. And I just want to make sure that we're comfortable being a part of that planning process from an actual real estate standpoint. And so I just put together a couple of possible scenarios. I have no idea if any of those would be adopted,
But there are three very interesting scenarios on it, and like I said, your cost is going to drive a lot of it because there's the potential of the existing as well as otherwise, and it's it doesn't impede the real estate of the farm.
yeah, trying to minimize that
Yeah, I
impact,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, what I don't want is any unintended consequences, and by that I mean, you know, we had the safety grant application, for example, that we thought we were gonna get $500,000 for, and Ken rightfully so applied for money and got $363,000. Well, we were told that that doesn't affect any future grants, but it did indeed affect it to the point that we were only able to get 163 instead of the 500 that we applied for, because we already got 337. My point is that if we are applying for grants for things like connecting Tiffin to 75 somehow, you know, either through Tiber Road or through other roads that happen to go through there, I hope that applying for human-powered transportation grants does not affect the dollars that we would get that would benefit to the larger citizenry with the connection to 75. So I don't want to put the emphasis on the wrong syllable here. I want to make certain that we understand that if we're applying for certain CDBG money or ODOT money or whatever it is, that it doesn't affect us on this end and have an unintended consequence. You know, I think this is a great ancillary thing, but it's certainly not a high priority, at least for me, from a county standpoint. You know, our job is to make sure that we have good transportation and create an environment for jobs and those kind of things. And I'm happy to do this as what I consider to be a luxury. But I want to make sure that the needs, as I see them, are met first.
I would have to concur with Mr. Kirschner on the fact that we do not want to see funds that could be used for highway infrastructure being taken away by using it for active transportation. I did do a little research on active transportation grants, and ODOT has site-specific active transportation grants that do not impede on our highway infrastructure grants. So there is funding that is separate.
I know very little, except that I know that I was surprised by the fact that, I mean, everybody thought, we don't get any smarter because we get elected. It's the fact, I think sometimes we get dumber. But the fact is that we didn't know that one thing was gonna relate to the other.
Right.
And I just wanna make certain that one thing doesn't adversely relate to the other here, that's all.
I would agree.
Yeah, and the grant that we applied for was specifically for active transportation. So it was this pool of money that was set aside for this planning purposes. So if we didn't apply, you know, it was gonna go someplace else for
Well, I just-
active transportation.
I don't wanna come back to and say, you got this pool of money, as part of ODOT, therefore, you know, you have a less of a priority because money's already been granted to Seneca County for whatever it is. So your priority or your grade, if you will, as they grade these applications, is gonna take a hit because you already got some other grant.
Understood.
So, yeah, so that's where we're at. We hope to hear this month on go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm completely, you know, we've been working to get a, update to the transportation improvement plan, which the county approved, and Fostoria just approved it, so.
Oh, did they good?
Yeah, so it's been approved. So working with Charlene to set up a transportation improvement district money where we can get ODOT money for the infrastructure. That being said, I'm a fan because with millennials and folks that are choosing where to live, we're at a competitive disadvantage because we aren't on the map. We don't have this amenity which some people in terms of their quality of life consider essential. So in my view on workforce, creating an environment where people are gonna wanna live gets to be critical. But it's a longer term game, and so we're working on, we gotta make sure the businesses we can have the jobs, but I also wanna make sure we have the people to fill those jobs that aren't traveling from an hour away, because then they're gonna get a job over there. So it's both at once, and I think being extra cautious and circumspect about making sure there aren't any unintended negative consequences in terms of affecting, we're not saying, well, you got some planning money, therefore we're not gonna give you, the infrastructure money is well stated, we'll make sure that, at least I'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, that's fine, just it surprises me from time to time. Yes, Tom?
This is for Shane. You mentioned the Cemetery Road, I'll call it the Cemetery Road.
Okay.
And that does have a nice base now.
Yeah.
But if there was a bicycle path there, per se, there is some heavy equipment, farm equipment, that's going to be crossing that.
Yeah.
And they're going to be dumping off of their wheels dirt on that path.
Very common, actually, on paths, you know.
I just thought I'd mention that because that's a big farm,
Yeah.
and I've seen the heavy equipment go out there, and they're going to be on that path if
Right.
it should go there.
And the road going up too, I mean,
Yes.
equipment moves up through there as well, so that point is not lost on us, so I appreciate that. But,
I would like to state that the Sisters of St. Francis have provided the Active Transportation Committee with a letter of support to use Port Road for the intensive purposes of active transportation and linking this together. We all see the benefit of being able to have a walking, biking corridor that leads from downtown Tiffin out to the county services buildings, because we can have employees that are living healthier lifestyles by riding out to work if they live downtown, as well as some of our low-income families who can't afford a taxi or transportation may be able to walk out and get services that they're having harder access to. So we wanted to make sure of that.
I talked to Cynthia just about a year ago. Is part of the path gonna be the underpass under 224 there?
Yes, sir.
That's something that would have been extremely expensive had that
yeah.
already been in place. So that's
Mhm.
nice.
Yes,
For sure.
Yeah, that's nice.
very nice of them.
Okay, anything else about active transportation?
Nope, it's okay.
Without objection, I would like to call a work session for Tuesday at 9 a.m. So we have time to discuss other things that we might have business for on Tuesday, and then cancel the Thursday session unless it's absolutely necessary, and then try that for a while. That's where I'm coming from. I think that these things take, in round numbers, an hour, but it would be less cumbersome, I think, on a number of people if we were able to stick it with once a week, have a work session every week, and also have the meeting. So the meeting might be 10 or 15 minutes late before it gets started, but until the work session is finished. I'd entertain discussion about that.
That's a nice.
Tuesday, I'm doubtful, just for the record. My mom's having surgery, and so I have to accompany her in the morning. So when she dies on the operating
I guess-
table, I'll be here.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I guess.
So there's that. But I prefer the Tuesday, Thursday setup. I actually would prefer Tuesday work session, Thursday board, but that's just me.
Okay, we have Shane's thoughts. My proposal is work session early Tuesday and meeting regular Tuesday, and calling Thursday meetings when necessary. Any thoughts, Commissioner Stacy?
Combining them, I think, is a good use of time, if that works out. I don't know that it will work this next Tuesday with that. I'm not gonna bring my.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, more than just this
Than
next
just
Tuesday, like
next,
just
yeah.
in general. What
Yeah,
are your thoughts?
In general, the twice a week with one of them just strictly being a work session, I'd like to see some condensing of that, or, yeah, we need a work session. I do think they're very beneficial,
Well-
and whether it's before a regular meeting or it's once or twice versus every week, I think might be a little easier with scheduling. I know I've come into problems with scheduling some stuff, but
Okay, well, next week, Shane, you can let us know in advance, I think. Tuesday is really the day that the problem is specifically.
Yeah, I
for you.
won't be. I doubt that.
you're planning to make it for the regular meeting by 10.
I was going to
If you
try,
can,
but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it kind of depends on what
Right.
they let me do.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if we think that we have business that we'd like to get unanimous conversation on, I mean, would you like to move the meeting to Thursday next week?
I can do Thursday.
Just do a regular session on Tuesday? And then henceforth, have, the following weeks have a work session at 9 on Tuesdays, unless there's a less necessity for a Thursday meeting.
So do a regular session,
Thursday, allow
just
you-
Thursday and not Tuesday?
Have a work session on Tuesday. I know Shane won't be able to be here for that, but we'll be able to get some things done, hopefully, and then Thursday, have a regular meeting. I assume that the work session will be relatively short.
Was there anybody,
Tuesday.
was there anybody scheduled that impacts anything?
Oh,
On
yeah.
Tuesday, we have a bid opening, we have,
Okay.
So we have
the
a
gentleman,
session.
Dale Arnold, was coming in
Okay.
to do a wind thing on Tuesday.
All right.
Oh, shoot, you weren't
Well, let's
here for that.
schedule,
I'll watch the video.
okay, is there any problem with this?
Have you-
Let's schedule a meeting on both Tuesday and Thursday next week,
Okay,
and we can always cancel the Thursday meeting if there isn't anything additional to discuss.
okay.
So let's try that, all right? And then what is today, the 4th, obviously, may the 4th be with you. So on the 11th, we will
Thank
have
you,
a meeting.
Michael.
The 18th will be a work session in meeting. And the 20th, it will be canceled, the Thursday meetings, unless there's a special call.
All right, let's start with the 9th. So the 9th, we're having regular board session.
A week from
Today,
last
or-
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yes, we
Tuesday.
have a regular board session, and we're also gonna have a board session on the 11th.
Okay, so no work session next week.
No.
Okay. And then the 16th and the 18th.
16th, we'll have a meeting, we'll have a work session at 9 o'clock. Unless we find that we're gonna do it earlier, but 9 o'clock at this point.
Okay.
And then a meeting, and then no meeting on Thursday.
A meeting on the 18th.
That's my wedding anniversary, so I have to be home.
And then after that,
After that, Tuesday work session, 9 o'clock, unless we change it to 8:30 or something, but henceforth, Tuesdays.
Yeah, I still don't like the proposal. I mean, I like Tuesday work session, Thursday meeting. So,
Okay, duly noted. Okay, I don't think we have a formal input from the crowd, but I'm happy to listen to anything you might have.
My question.
Yes, Tom,
No,
yes.
My question is about the Newriddle sewer. It was brought up about the pumps.
Yeah,
You know, supposedly those people are sending X amount of sewage to Fostoria. I'm going back now, a couple of years. And Fostoria is getting a lot more than what they send. Has that ever been looked into more? I mean, at one time it was, but is that a dead horse now?
are you saying that there's more arriving than being sent? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
that was,
so there's more people tapped into it than they think?
no, I think the pipe was leaking.
Oh.
The pipe was leaking.
Mark has constantly been
Has he
looking
been
at
watching
that.
that?
Yes, and he's got some ideas and things he's working on, and has had some communications with entities, and I wasn't able to go to the one meeting with it, we weren't ready to talk about it all, so I haven't even updated these two on what Mark's plans are. Mark says, until I get this further along, and I gotta know that people there are with me on my plan, so they're working on some solutions to,
Okay,
what the ultimate goal is to not have rising costs for New Riddle Sewer District.
yes.
Because
rising
that's
costs.
what he sees happening inevitably because of the current system and everything that happens, so he's
Some-
looking through new ideas.
Something's going downhill, right?
Yes. And you know, when she brought up the pumps, I thought about that sewer again, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's not fair, really.
And obviously the pump thing, obviously Mark's in on that, and he's fully aware of his other proposals and things that he's investigating to see if it can happen to ultimately have better solutions to what's happening there. But, yep, you're
Thank
right,
you.
it's been
Thank you.
ongoing.
Yes, Ron, you had a question?
Yes, again for clarification, and this one I know is going to be important to my readers in Fostoria, but during the session Tuesday, I thought you had set who was going to be on the advisory committee. Am I now hearing that you may change that? Because
No, it's set, I'm just saying that once they're assembled, that committee may say, you know, why aren't we including Ex-Preservation Society?
So it could be expanded.
It could be expanded,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
The people that have been designated definitely will be asked. But as I said, I'd rather have it more inclusive than less.
Very good, thank you very much.
Anything else? I don't think I need to adjourn, because I will.